Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graham Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur from both a match attending and international supporters' view. This episode will be joined by Thomas Law and Paul Wing from Toronto's official supporters club. We will be looking back at the North London derby and towards the Fulham game at the weekend. A lot to get through, so let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glenn, are you good?
I'm not bad, mate. I mean, not so familiar surroundings to our viewers today. I've hightailed.
You look like you're about to be interviewed by the police.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit like that, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I've hightailed it into the office. I had some meetings in the city, so I had to get in. So yeah, I'm well though.
Also look like you're dressed like Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Well, this is what all Australians wear. I've got my crocodile hat out there as well. Yeah. We don't actually do much office work. We just go and hunt crocodiles.
Bit of wrestling.
No, but I'm well, mate. I'm doing well. How are you going, Graeme? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very good.
Good.
I went to the game on Sunday, so we'll cover that obviously later on.
Yeah.
I guess I had new manager hope, but I don't feel crushed by the loss because I guess we've become a bit numb to it because it happens so frequently. But I guess it wasn't really the important game of the 12 games that we had left.
Yeah.
We could talk about that as well, like which ones we think we're getting the points from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed, but there was a familiarity to the feeling.
Well, as you would have picked up on from my lack of contact when the game was on live, I did not get up at the 3:30 a.m. kickoff, which I'm glad I didn't. I started it at about 7 a.m. Monday morning for me, so a few hours delayed. But we'll get into that in a bit more. But welcome again to Thomas and Paul. Over to either one of you, really, and happy for you to play a bit of handball with it. But maybe tell us about the Toronto Supporters Club and where you're both based, and we'd be keen to understand how viewing a game for you guys is. But before we do that, I'd like to hear from each of you on why you support Tottenham. We were chatting offline. I think I can tell from your accent you might be maybe from the area or certainly English, but maybe over to you first, Paul, on why Spurs and maybe some early memories. And you're at very different spectrums of the eras, so should be getting quite different stories, I expect. But over to you, Paul.
Yeah. So look, on behalf of the Toronto Spurs, its board and members, thank you for the invite to do this. We're very proud of the work that we do. And we brought this along to carry the Do Award that was a huge surprise to us around the time of Bilbao, that it literally just showed up in the mail. We didn't apply for it or anything. And I'm going to talk about the work that we do a bit later to win the award. Why Spurs? Why Spurs? 7th of May, 1961, the greatest day in the history of the club. The first football game that I probably watched the whole game on television, because in those days not very much was televised. My mum let me invite a couple of school friends on Saturday at 3 p.m. and in those days the FA Cup final was the event in the calendar. And then on the 18th of November 1961, Spurs signed Jimmy Green, and that sealed the deal for me. The interesting thing was that about half my family were Arsenal supporters. I'm from Finsbury Park originally, and half my family was Spurs supporters. And the Spurs supporters were obviously having a lot of influence on us because Spurs were winning in those days and Arsenal weren't. So a history of over 60 years with this club. My brother also became was a Spurs fan, converted at the same time. A tiny little story. The night that Jimmy Greaves was announced, we were in a sleepover with my grandparents. My parents were at an event, and our grandparents spoiled us as little princes and let us stay up to the 10 o'clock news. And the first item on the news, it was so big, Spurs have signed Jimmy Greaves, 99,990. And it was, wow, that sealed the deal.
Yeah, brilliant. Wow. Yeah. What a story. Great stuff. You've seen some changes. You've seen a lot of change. Yeah.
A lot of things. We can talk about that further.
Yeah. Tom, over to you, mate. Why Spurs for you? Maybe an early.
Yeah. So as it turns out, don't think I had too much of a say in the matter. Both sides of the family. On my mum's side, they were mostly they're from Essex. They were mostly Spurs. One uncle was a West Ham fan. I don't know what went wrong with him. On my dad's side, so he moved to England when he was a kid, so 10 years old. So as he tells me, first ever football game he went to Highbury. He watched the match, went, is that it? Don't like that. Next week goes to White Hart Lane, goes, okay, I think this is for me. And he's been stuck with them ever since. And he made sure that I was stuck with him ever since.
It's kind of bad that he had a choice as well. And he still chose us.
Yeah, but would you have it any other way?
No, I know.
My brother...
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, we covered that a little bit last week, didn't we, Graeme, on that would we ever change it? But I don't know that we would. Like, just
True.
The feeling that I had in from when we won in Bilbao, it makes it all worth it. But so, Tom, without encroaching on a question, but how old are you? Because your era would have been when you were first gone to a game then?
So I'm 27, and the first game I remember going to was Charlton, I think around 2005, and I think it was about a 5-1 victory.
Was that Berbatov and Keane scored, I believe? Yeah.
Maybe a bit before Berbatov, but definitely Keane, that era. Funny enough, for being in Canada, the Paul Stalteri always stayed in my head. Pretty much is around that 4-3 win against West Ham.
Yeah.
That's a name that sticks with me. Those are some of the earliest memories. It's always... I always remember the games for the absolute standouts, including, was it Getafe when Marcinho was sacked at half-time? I think that was one of my...
Oh, I was at that game as well, yeah.
So it's just been a roller coaster ever since then.
You had some pretty slim pickings, really, haven't you, as a supporter?
It's funny that Stalteri game, I still remember the commentator when he said, "Oh, no," when he scored. I was like, could you be any more biased towards wanting West Ham to win this? It was so funny. But great stuff, Tom. Look, we're obviously going to get into, Graeme, the North London Derby review and look ahead to Fulham. But before we did that, as I mentioned, we would like to get an overview. Certainly to hear more about To Care Is To Do, and then also just generally your group as a whole, really, Paul and Tom, whoever would like to take that one and share a little bit of information.
Organised Overseas Supporters Club was probably Canada Spurs, formed in around 2000. But in around 2018, my understanding is the mothership encouraged us to split up to individual Overseas Supporters Club. And so there are a number of Overseas Supporters Clubs across Canada, Vancouver, Ottawa, etc. I've been to both. And Toronto Spurs was formed. Okay. And we've literally just gone from strength to strength since then. But we now have a board of 11 people, and we have operating processes behind the scenes in bringing in new members, etc., etc. It's structured. One little tangent is that our secretary is female. She's only been with us a couple of years. Why Spurs? Because her circle of friends in 2013 all had soccer clubs, including who was then her husband, and she didn't. And she saw the Ted Lasso advert for NBC.
Yeah.
And
it was an advert originally, wasn't it? Before it became a show.
Yeah.
I remember that advert. Yeah.
She became a Spurs supporter from that. Okay?
Wow.
So she's a member of our board, relatively new, like Tom. We've experienced some turnover, and what's great is we've had succession. The guy who ran our raffles and sort of fundraising, Ian, died suddenly last January. We now have annual Ian order raffles and raise thousands of dollars.
That's lovely.
And our treasurer, for we think almost 25 years, needed to retire, and one of the young guys stepped up as treasurer. So we're pretty vibrant from that point of view. Yeah. Like Melbourne, then where I have been, Glenn, Toronto is a very, very multi-ethnic country.
Yep.
So we have people from all sorts of backgrounds. I love chatting to them, and Tom probably as well, when we go around selling raffle tickets to them. And how did you become a supporter? Where are you from originally? We're a very inclusive club. It's not just Melanie is the only female member. There's lots of female members. And even to the point that we have a father and son club in Germany. And Jeremy had very, very, very unfortunate situation as a teenager, and he's now in a wheelchair. And there's limited capacity, let's put it this way. But there's hardly anyone at the Scotland Yard, our home pub, that enjoys the goal more than Jeremy. He knows what's going on, and a number of us go and fist pump him when it happens. So, very, very diverse group. Okay, so what does that mean? Our membership has just gone over 400 for the first time. The ironic thing is that we debated as a board increasing our annual fees from $25 Canadian to $30, which is about 17 quid. We did it, and our membership's gone up. But at the same time, we set the youth and kids membership at zero, has helped drive the numbers as well. Scotland Yard's our home pub, therefore every game, no matter whether it's 7:30 in the morning, when we probably have 50 or 70 turn up for 7:30 in the morning. That's the lunchtime games on a Saturday. Or whether it's the Champions League game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and people leave the office and go to the Scotland Yard. And there will be volunteers amongst the board putting up our banners and flags, etc. For the European final, we organised 600 people in 3 locations.
Oh, brilliant.
A bar, which is the sister bar to the Scotland Yard, where we are every game. We arranged another bar and said it was 600 people. On Sunday, which was a double header for us, and Tom's going to talk about that, we were at capacity of 250 people. From 7:30 in the morning for the hockey gold medal through to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, 250 people.
Is it ticket only for an event like that?
It's largely reservations, which is part of the privilege of membership. You get reservations. You're able to reserve. But we allow for a few walk-ups, a percentage of walk-up, because, we may get someone from Toronto, Minnesota, or Toronto, Chicago in the city of want to come to see a game. So it's largely reservation.
I just wonder, because when you say capacity, you must reach a point where you're bursting at the seams and it's no longer safe to have extra people in there.
Well, yeah, but fire regulations and stuff, you can still move around pretty comfortably.
Yeah,
we could get more in. We could get more in.
You've been in worse pubs for watching matches.
Yeah. And the great thing about Scotland Yard, and Tom will confirm this, is it is an authentic club feel. If you go on our Instagram, the photos that you'll see in tweet from the weekend, it feels like an authentic pub. So that's great. The staff, the management staff there, are incredibly loyal to us, partly because what we did as fans was have a whip round for them, a collection for them in the pandemic. And they all got funds that the members had raised. One of the waitresses who's been with us for many years, Sally, she has become a Hotspur One member and has been over to the stadium.
That's fantastic.
And a bunch of the staff will wear Tottenham shirts when they were on Sunday wearing Tottenham shirts.
That's great.
So we're very inclusive. And one little story about how inclusive was that Melanie, I mentioned earlier, found us a few years ago and said, I want to go and be there, but was very concerned that it would be a very male environment. And she was very nervous about this. So she even got a girlfriend to go to the Scotland Yard at a time other than the game time and do a dry run, if you like, and know where she was going. And then on the day she was coming to the game, she nearly turned back 3 times, but she got there and people started talking to her. And now she's a fixture. She probably goes to as many games as anyone else. Everyone knows her. It helps improve the female audience as well, and other single women, etc. So we're very proud of what we're building here. The reason for the award is we consistently do work with an organisation called Regent's Park Soccer Club. It's for youth and kids. Regent's Park is an underprivileged area of the city that the city is putting a lot of resource into. And we help fund their soccer program. And they say that without our contributions, they couldn't do what they do. and this year they've expanded their program. And the story behind this is that we raised $10,000 for them for their programs through raffles. We can have 50 draws where a member can walk away with 500 quid after a game. That's pretty good with only 250 people there, Matt. Okay. Walk away with 500 quid and Regent's Park gets 500 quid. And then we have these huge raffle draws, like last year's first in order raffle draw. There was probably 40 prizes. There was a couple of $1,000 in prizes, including one of our members who has season tickets close to the Spurs bench, and he donates them for the raffle. That raises a lot of money. We're raising money throughout the year for the region.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, really, really good work there, Paul. Sounds like a great club to be a part of. If I'm ever in Toronto, I'll be sure to obviously watch a game with you guys. It's funny, something that resonated and it reminds me of a short story. You said about the multicultural nature, and Melbourne is very much that. I remember going to the pub. We played Bournemouth, and it was a 9:30 p.m. kickoff for us here because it was a lunchtime in England. And there was a gaggle of about 5 or 6 Koreans that were in Melbourne on holiday. And they were mainly obviously there to see Son, and he got sent off. I felt so bad for him.
Well, it's not as bad as the ones that went to the stadium to see him and he got sent off.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very similar here in Melbourne. Tom, I know you've got a hard stop in 15 minutes. I'd be keen to hear some more, maybe from your perspective. And then, Paul, we can bounce back to you for maybe a little more about the club and anything else we'd like to cover. But maybe, Tom, over to you on where you fit in and the games you attend and how long you've been a part of the supporters club.
Yeah, so I'll echo everything Paul said about the feel and the community and spirit of the place. I moved to Canada about 2.5 years ago, the 1st of August. I think one of the very first things I looked at was like, okay, where can I watch a game?
Yeah,
found it, and immediately it was like, it's never going to be the same as a stadium or like traveling away or that sort of thing. But you felt like part of a community, part of like, okay, these are people we can like get along with.
Family.
So,
sometimes family.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, I've met some of my best buddies in Canada now through this club. Like you said, it's a place where you can just go around and chat with people. I'm probably at the demographic where for the early kickoffs, it's easier to stay up from the night before rather than get up early. It is just that it's a nice like feeling of being around people that are suffering in the same way that you are week upon week. It's never going to be the same. And I think once you learn to appreciate that and you can love it for what it is, that was my biggest fear moving to Canada. Well, one of my biggest fears moving to Canada was I'm going to miss the atmosphere. I'm going to miss the like general stadium feel, but this is as good a replacement as I think is possible.
And arguably, much like me in Australia, even though the time zone is horrific, we get more games on live TV than you do in England, of course. I'm sure Canada's the same, right? You don't have blackout. So your 3 p.m. games are on there, I assume, much like they are in America.
For sure. Everything is on, one net, maybe two, but everything's on network streaming. It's very few problems accessing it. It's so if you want to watch it, it will always be there. There's never been a game where the bar has been open, and they're very good with that in terms of like for the 7:30 kickoffs. They will open for us, even if it's much reduced number of people. It's just there. I think it's one of those. Like, I can talk about the game on Sunday, or the whole experience of Sunday, which was, for us, it was a doubleheader. We had see the North London Derby, but before that, at 8 a.m, it was the men's hockey gold medal match at the Olympics against the Americans, which is the crunch game. That went
as badly as it could have done.
Yeah.
Just crush. It was a very different type of disappointment compared to the Arsenal game. It was overtime goal after dominating the match, pretty much the opposite of football. But it was good because you packed out the place from early doors, and then that rolled into the Arsenal game, and it sort of had that atmosphere that kept going, building like a sense of, okay, there's one disappointment that's out the way. Let's move on to Spurs, and we had some
The next one.
That's a good
Oh.
day.
I've been in Denver for times where the pub that we used to have in Denver where Spurs games were shown and the Colorado Spurs would meet, it doubled up as an NFL bar. And you'd often have fans with Spurs shirts over their NFL shirts. And then when the Spurs game finished, they'd take it off. Then they'd be ready to go their NFL. So was it similar on Sunday? Did you have quite a lot of Canadian and then the Spurs shirt came out afterwards?
Yeah,
great stuff.
two impressions on what Tom said. Firstly, there was the expectation we would win the hockey. I don't think too many of us really had high expectations for the North London derby. That's what was chattering about it.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that literally when the hockey finished, we turned the TV off and all the red got taken off and the blue got put on within like 5 minutes. It was okay. Change the channel. Let's focus on the North London derby.
Yeah, no, indeed.
Looks like we lost Tom for.
I think we've lost Tom maybe briefly. I know that he had a hard stop at 45 past entry. So all good. We can.
Another sort of thing we do for the members is on Sunday, if you got there before puck drop for the hockey, you were given a raffle ticket, and there were 12 prizes of $50 off of your bar bill for that day.
They probably needed it by the end of that day.
Oh yeah. So
something else I wanted to speak about, and I'm so ashamed that Tom's dropped, but it's a World Cup year, and obviously the World Cup is being played in 3 countries. We've got Tom back briefly.
Yep.
That's good. Hey, Tom.
Hi.
So I was just going to ask, what's the feeling like around the World Cup hosting there? Because at the moment, it feels like there's some kind of drug baron war going on in Mexico. Trump is doing Trump stuff in America, and half the world's not allowed to even visit the World Cup because they're on a ban list. And it feels like Canada's the only sane hosting country at the moment. And I just like to understand what the feeling's like around the place at the moment with we're not only a few months away now, right?
Educate me, because I haven't paid that much attention to the games that aren't in the States, meaning my wife's American from Nebraska, but we lived in Colorado for a long time. She's as kind of down on it as most other people are in terms of just, she said to me actually the other day, can Canada just host it all? Like, why can't we just give it all to Canada? But how many games are in Toronto? Is there, obviously the opening Canada game is, but do they play all their games there, or do they travel around the country?
Canada's opening games in Toronto, and then the next 2 are in Vancouver. Grant, the thing about Toronto is it's the smallest stadium out of all the 16 hosts. In a way, it's kind of like the most British in a sense. It has 4 stands facing the ground, not that protected against the elements.
Yeah,
they're expanding. It was about 30,000. They're now expanding it to 45,000. So the thing is, I
often think that makes for a better atmosphere.
Yeah,
those stadiums.
And I think because it's a bit more intimate, and I think what's happened is because after the draw, whatever the hell that was, they decided.
That's the best way to describe
it. Political broadcast, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. They sort of changed. They gave themselves a date to figure out where the fixtures would be, and there was a chance that 2 of England's group games could have been in Toronto.
Yeah,
but what they did was they put them in the States where they had the bigger stadiums and obviously more people and tickets. So all the games in Toronto are it's like there's still World Cup games at the end of the day, but for example, it's like Croatia against Panama and Senegal against a team to be qualified, possibly Iraq, possibly Jamaica, which again, one way of looking at it is, okay, Toronto doesn't get the Class A games, but at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe you hope it's a bit more accessible without that huge demand. Proper football fans would want to go. And also with America being America, it's if you're a fan of Senegal, it's like this is the one game you can go to. If you're a fan of
it's mad, isn't it?
Iraq, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I was going to say Iraq. I really hope they make it through and they end up having to play USA or something like that. Would be absolute box office, wouldn't it?
Isn't it? Egypt versus Iran are playing in Seattle, and it's the Pride game.
Pride weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to be being homosexual is illegal in those countries. I mean, you couldn't make it up, really, could you?
So we may get Italy. And that's not necessarily a good thing for the city because the Italian fans, there's a very large Italian community here. And the Italian fans, of course, are rabid. So they're going to be changing colours. If we get Italy, they win their, whatever it's called, playoff game. We may get them.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned about Italian fans because where I lived in Enfield, and I think you said earlier, Paul, that you're from around the area, but bit sort of Chesney way. There used to be a lot of greenhouses. Used to be they used to grow a lot of salad vegetables.
Like allotments, Graham.
It's all Italian families. And so I remember the 1990 World Cup, showing me age, when the Italians played one of the early games and they won. And so there's all these like little Fiats buzzing up and down the high street with the Italian flags and they're leaning on their horns. And it all got a bit heated.
There's a reason why coffee is so good in Melbourne. Like, it's a renowned thing that it's some of the best coffee in the world. And there's an ongoing banter with other parts of the world and other parts of Australia that Melbourne's coffee is the best. But it's because of the large Italian influence. And there's a street in Melbourne called Lygon Street. And when they beat England in the Euros, we were in that window where we weren't in lockdown because it was during COVID. It was 2021. And it was the same. It was absolutely manic and just chaos. And they had to deploy. And you're in the midst of a pandemic still. No one was It was nuts. So, yeah. But go ahead, Paul. I think you had a point.
Yeah. We'll see the flags of all the nations on people's cars. Portugal, whatever. The only Spurs player we will probably see, I think, in Toronto is Kudus, I think, if I'm right.
Has he got Senegal? Isn't that Pape?
You got Sarr with Senegal if he gets in the squad.
He doesn't play, does he?
He doesn't play for them very often.
So I want to. So here's. I'm totally disgusted by it. FIFA's money grab, and FIFA won't move it to Canada because we're not going to bribe them, and they're not going to make as much money from the stadiums because we don't have the.
Because you're not. Yeah, you're not. I don't know what happened at what point did Infantino become a Bond villain? Because it seems to have happened in the last 6 months. I always, when you think about how the disdain which we held Blatter for the corruption and all of that, it's absolutely even worse now than it was then, in my opinion.
Blatter was follow the money. Infantino is all about the power. All about the power,
influence and power.
You've even got Blatter now coming up and saying
he's on the peace board now. Trump's peace board. Why?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So I had this dream. Okay, I went to the 1966 World Cup at Wembley. I was 15. The relative of mine who persuaded me to become a Spurs fan had bought a whole package of all the games at Wembley. England played France. I believe it was a Tuesday night. England won 2-0. He couldn't go. He gave me his ticket. Okay? I now have two grandsons, 13 and 11. And I had this dream that I could take my grandsons to see a World Cup game 60 years later. So I did actually get through the first rounds of the visa ticket allocation, and it was, sorry, you can have this hospitality thing for $2,500, or you can have a packet of tickets of 3 for Canada for $3,900 or whatever, ridiculous, etc. So my dream got busted completely.
It's pure greed.
So before Tom's time here in Toronto, when there was talk about was Toronto going to be part of the World Cup, we all knew it obviously was, because the field is the national soccer stadium. Vancouver is an enclosed stadium, a multi-purpose stadium, and so it's not that same atmosphere that Tom talked about. They play other sports there as the field here in Toronto. We were sort of told, you're going to get an upgraded stadium for if we apply for it. So what have we got? We've got a lot more hospitality suites than we're probably ever going to need, and we've got an extra large temporary stand that's been put there that is not going to be kept there for Toronto FC. We saw it before when Toronto FC won the MLS. And so I wanted to volunteer as a retiree to help with set up the organization of the thing. But it was just trying to go through that process. It was so much being taken over by corporates that I just said, no, I don't need this. I don't need this.
Yeah, I've got a couple more points to make on that, but before I do that, Tom, I know you've got a bit of a hard stop. Do you need to drop off? But any other points from you, mate, before you need to go?
No, I'd just like to say that, well, thank you for having us, but also like that feeling of being let down this World Cup. There was originally like a family, like my family plan. My mum used to live in the States in the 90s in New York, so she went to the USA 94 and she got a bunch of like tickets for dirt cheap because like back then in soccer, America, no one knows, no one cares. She went. So it was like 30 years on, big old family trip. My brother lives in Sydney, so, just up. It's a good meeting point. And then had a reappraisal about last year going, so expensive. It's all corporate. It's not going to be the same atmosphere. Frankly, I don't want to go to a country where a host country that's threatened to invade the other two host countries. It's not a good.
It's insane, isn't it?
And I think I'll say all this. I'm still going to enjoy the World Cup. I think I'm going to enjoy the World Cup in spite of FIFA. It's still going to be great because, as we said, Toronto is such a multicultural city. You can find a bar, go to a community and get that atmosphere and it will be good. It will still be football. It's just a shame for what it could have been.
It's the circus that goes with it.
Yeah. And it's like, the thing about it is for me now, the corruption is just, it's all right in front of your face now. And case in point is the World Cup after this one is in South America, Europe and Africa. And the reason FIFA have done that is so Saudi Arabia could be completely unopposed for the 2034 World Cup. So they got that unopposed because they will say, oh no, but we hosted it in these regions previously, so Saudi can have it, which is pure kickbacks, pure greed. It will be another winter World Cup, which I fundamentally disagree with. So yeah, I echo both of your views, Paul and Tom. I think we should probably pivot, Graeme, to maybe some coverage and talk of the Northern Derby. But Tom, before we do that, you need to drop off, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, Tom.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
We'll have you back on, mate, for sure. Great to have you on.
Let's hope for a better result this next weekend.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, buddy.
Right. So, Graeme, you were at the game.
I was.
I did not watch live, as I mentioned earlier. I'll be keen to get your view and yours, Paul. I thought there was a bit more fight in us. I thought we seemed a bit more at it, but the same errors were prevalent in defending. And I thought Arsenal were just quite simply more clinical and just better than us. I found the disallowed Moani goal to be soft, very, very soft, almost like it plays into a bit of the dark arts, right, of when you're going for a title.
Oh, honestly, the amount of dive in and feigning injury, all of that shit, it riles me right up. It does.
Yeah,
the referee bought it the whole game. He was awful. That referee.
I thought he was.
And also,
too.
I don't know about how much of it you saw because you probably watched it on time lapse. Twice we had over 5-minute delays because the batteries or some shit happened to the radio for the linesman.
So whenever I watch a game on delay, I watch it as if it's live, right? And Lindsay always laughs at me that I do this. I have a full half time so I can go for a pee. I do it like it's live. So the batteries, it was on the equipment or something. It was absolutely comical. Like, what is going on here?
It got to the point
with the frequency.
Really?
The guy on the far side with the laptop that didn't have the right frequency for the packs that the linesman had over there. But what I didn't get was if they knew it happened in the first half, why did we not fix it before the second half?
The start of the second, we delayed kickoff, so that they haven't even blown the whistle, so they didn't have the time on. But everyone sat in the stadium twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, and the guys were trying to keep warm or kick a ball around.
You're risking more injuries, and the last thing we need is more bloody injuries, isn't it?
I thought there were little green shoots of areas I can see where he's come in and only had a few days with them. I actually thought Basuma was bright. Like, he hasn't had a look in under Frank. I thought he was quite good. I thought Spence had a decent enough game. I was really impressed with Moani, and it doesn't surprise me because he's worked with Moani before. I thought he looked really good. I thought his goal, I think he took it really well. And then he was incredibly unlucky with the equaliser because I thought it was a fair goal. You see worse at corners. I always chalked that game up to, though, it was a bit of a free hit. If we got something out of it, great, but I never really expected to. The games that I'm looking to are the next one, and then Palace, especially at home. But Graeme, yes, we got pumped 4-1, but what was the general feel in the stadium like compared to previous, like when it's been absolutely toxic? Like, how did you find that, mate?
I mean, it was 1-1 at half time, right? So
yeah.
People were pretty happy with that, to be honest. I mean, we've seen a lot worse, right? So I've been thinking of the 2-0 down against Villa after about 5 minutes. We've had it's been a really toxic place to be, and it can turn very, very quickly. I thought the turnout was good, which you would expect, I guess, but I've been at big games this season when people just haven't shown up. So I saw a lot more regular season ticket faces around me than I have done for a while.
I love the TIFO, by the way. North London since
that was really good.
1882. Yeah, really good.
Suck it, Woolwich.
Yeah,
it was cool.
I always, it really annoys me when they say North London is red. I'm like, North London's never been red. You're not even fucking from North London.
Then they'll start the Middlesex argument, of course.
Yeah, no, indeed. Paul, how did you see it, mate? It sounds like you went to the pub, but generally, what did you make of the game?
So, a couple of points. The main one was after Arsenal scored the first goal, I turned to one of our regulars and said, "What's changed?" And we were sort of shrugged our shoulders, you know. Spence to me, didn't have a good game. I thought he struggled down the left-hand side. Saka had his number. He got called out of position with the goal, and we ended up with Sarr trying to defend the line against Saka. And the other thing about Spence play, it seemed to me, was I don't think he got within 10 yards of the Arsenal area. There was nothing down that wing. Tell got some opportunities when he came on, but that was because Arsenal just gave him a lot of room, as if they didn't respect him. So,
isn't one of the problems with Spence in the way that Tudor likes to play is to play with advanced wing backs who are going to be crossing the ball, and Spence is right-footed, so he's the wrong side of the pitch.
Oh yeah.
Really be effective in that system.
And I understand that, but that's what we had to work with for a long time.
Yeah, it's true.
So the question, what changed, very quickly got answered when RKM stripped Rice of the ball and really aggressive ball in, as we call it in hockey. And I thought it was a great finish, the way that he didn't bottle it. And we just turned to each other and said, that's changed. Someone took the initiative in the Arsenal penalty area.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed with Gallagher.
Yeah.
My thinking was bringing him in at 200 grand a week. We were starting to break the ceiling on the wage structure. And my hope is still for him that he's going to be one of the generals in the midfield. I grew up with Dave Mackay every other week.
He's not that.
I had a season ticket, by the way, for a season in the mid-60s at Spurs, 65, 66. So he's not that, but he had real difficulty just controlling the ball and wasn't to me up to speed. And I wasn't surprised he got substituted.
Well, I had hopes because he basically played him and Javi either side of Colin Moani. And I thought, actually, that plays into his strengths. He's supposedly quite good at that kind of press. He's quite good at getting in and around people. And also, most of his better games for Palace and Chelsea when he was in the Premier League were in as a 10 rather than deeper as an 8, which I guess we've been playing him as. So I kind of felt maybe we'd get more out of him, maybe more late runs into the box, getting ahead of the striker. But didn't really do any of that. Was quite disappointed.
He was having to play too deep all the time.
Yeah, I think that's another point that I noticed as well. We've just overloaded in the centre of midfield the whole game. They had 3, we had 2, and it just didn't work.
And how many times have Arsenal done that to us because we've got the setup wrong? Simmons, we got this theory at the pub, at the yard, that Simmons is better in the second half than the first half, and he didn't have a particularly good first half. Second half, he was trying to be a lot more productive. He was running at the box a bit more, but there was no one really there supporting it. And even we just don't see the hold-up plays from the big guys up front, where it didn't matter if it was Solanke or Richardson or RKM, they just aren't able to do the hold-up plays and sort of flick it to, or head it to
Nobody.
Simmons, let him loose. So the dark arts are terrible. My closest cousin, who's an Arsenal fan, agreed that should not have been disallowed. It was, and he should have been booked for simulation. But we seem to lose a lot of faith after that, as if it doesn't matter what we do, the rest's not with us. If we can't get that goal given, why try too hard? And then you see the video of Tudor telling the back line to push up.
About to say the same,
you didn't see on the day.
Yeah.
And it's what's going on here.
It's
I
me
think
that
I think Van der Ven's a big issue.
I think he's checked out.
To me, he's checked out. To me, he's why we won in Bilbao, because late in the game, he kicked that bloody ball off the line. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yes, you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries
He
there.
kicked the ball off the line, right?
Yeah.
If that had gone in, God knows what would have happened.
I think that was the more important moment in the game than the goal, almost.
Yeah.
Well, Igor Tudor strikes me as a type of manager, and it's a real shame we don't have many options, but he doesn't strike me as one that's going to put up with that. It almost seems to me he wants a player that's going to carry out his instructions, and if Van der Ven isn't willing to do that, he's not going to be in the team.
Well, he's not going to be captain.
Correct.
Well,
yeah.
As well. So
Yeah.
The other thing with Van der Ven is we're still only paying him 90 grand a week. And this is where the whole, to me, structure is part of why we're in the mess we're in, and why players don't want to come to Tottenham. There's a dozen clubs out there that we'd be paying him probably more than 250,000, but we don't hear that we're trying to renegotiate his contract. Maybe he's already told them, I'm not going to take it. Right? I'm not any new contract, not interested. And this is someone who came from, given my history, when we signed Jimmy Greaves, when we signed Martin Peters, Mike England, and then we go to the whole paradigm shift signings that Spurs made, which was Ozzy Ardiles and Ricky Villa at the same time. I mean, that was massive at the time. I don't know if I'm right, but I think they were possibly the first South American players in the first division. Okay?
Yeah.
That was massive. That's who Tottenham were.
And they were World Cup winners.
And they were World Cup winners. But so was Romano, right? And so was Lloris.
Yeah.
But we've lost that. We've not replaced Lloris, Kane, Son, who were leaders.
Well, we've replaced them, but their replacements aren't even a shadow of the players that they've replaced, because we've always compromised. We've never paid the money to get someone of an equivalence in
the last 25, 30 years. So part of what I didn't get to talk about earlier is, since I came to Canada in 1979, there's like a 15, 20-year gap where I got very little news. Now our news is instantaneous. Frank's fired. We know that instantaneously, and within 10 minutes on Facebook, there's a clip from Sky Sports or whatever. So, but I was lucky if one of the Canadian newspapers would print the scores or print the table, and I was reliant on relative news of Tottenham. Now it's completely different, as Tom said. We even get the women's games. Now it's sort of, I'm pissed off because our national newspaper prints the table every day, and I don't want to see it every day.
Yeah.
So everyone's saying, oh, well, the injuries, and will be great when the people will start coming back, and it looks promising with the couple returning.
It's a really good point. So I have a question, right? So it's kind of a hypothetical. If we replay that game in May, right, and we've got 6 or 7 players back, do you think that the result is different?
Well, I'm not sure we get 6 or 7 back from now. It looks like there's 4 by late March. They're talking about maybe Bergvall gets back.
I
still think we get beat, even if every single player we've got is back.
Yeah.
Because I just think that
we're still in a competition with them. There's every chance that happens. We could still meet them again. You never know.
In the Champions League over 2 legs.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a disappointment that I've got. And, it came up after I listened to your podcast last week, which was excellent with the Trust people. And obviously no one's excited that we're still in the Champions League. Perhaps
it's
we
almost
win
a sideshow at the moment, isn't it? I think we're so
perhaps
focused on trying to
perhaps
avoid
we win the
relegation that
Champions
we don't
League
want
and
to. Yeah,
we're the first
we
team
could
in
get
history to
relegated
play.
and win the Champions League. It's
Yeah, we're
insane.
the first team in the Championship playing in Champions League.
Yeah. Preston North End one day, Real Madrid the next.
Maybe I'm just misguided or overly positive in a shit situation. I think we'll probably ultimately be okay. I do think we'll find the required points. And I think what it really comes down to is we just need to match what West Ham do, right? That's what seems to play out. Now, last week we didn't. They got a draw, we lost. We've got Fulham away. I think I can see us getting a point there. And I do think we'll beat Palace at home. They've still got a host Man City and they've got to go to Anfield. I think ultimately we will end up being okay. I'm not happy about even the precarious position we're in, of course not. But what do you guys think?
I think we need at least 7 points from Fulham, Palace and Forest.
Yes.
Minimum of 7 points.
That just gets us breathing easier. Yeah.
And then we've got we're still from the remaining 8 games. We've got to find another win or 3 points, 3 draws from the other games or something like that. I think sort of somewhere between 9 and 12 points. 9 should be okay. 12 is we are okay.
Yeah.
But outside of those 3 games, there's no easy games, right? There aren't any other easy. Well, I say even those. I still think Fulham will give us a game on the weekend.
There's Leeds, right, and Sunderland.
Leeds.
Yeah, they're both doing really well.
Sunderland. We've got to go to Anfield
Everton.
as well.
Last game's Everton.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not as optimistic because that YouTube you posted this morning really simplistically shows how every other club has got our strategy and he's beating it. And unless he can get the players working to not play that way anymore because they've all got our number, then I'm 50-50. I'm not sure we make it. I think that we've been through this game before, in prior years. Oh, we just need to win this and this, and we got this easy schedule coming up, and we could be in the Champions League again, etc. And we just been sinking down the table. It's pretty sad that this weekend is probably St. Tottenham Day, earliest one ever. That's pretty sad.
Yeah,
that's pretty sad. So he's got to turn this ship around fairly quickly. There was some buds of some good signs, but when I look at the 4 injuries that are probably coming back in the next month, I'm not overly excited. Who is it? Undogi and Kudus later in March and Porro and...
Well, Romero...
Danso should be this weekend.
Danso, and then Romero's still missing, and then I didn't know this until my mate pointed it out here. If he comes back and gets a booking because of his appalling record, he then misses again, just on a booking. Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I think it's 2 bookings, I think.
2 bookings, yeah. Well, it's just crazy, though. Yeah.
But the World Cup's in June. What am I focused on?
Yeah.
Why is it that we win and we do better in Champions League games than league games? Yeah, the people that don't necessarily know our system, but is it because they get higher bonuses in the Champions League? So there's a better payday for them? I don't know.
It's a bigger shop window for them as well.
Yeah.
I jokingly said after the disappointments on Sunday that I'm stepping away from Spurs and I'm going to become a Bogo Glimt fan because they win at home.
They won in Milan tonight, so they've won 2-0 in the second leg. They're through. That's
crazy.
Mad, isn't it?
Thank God we're not playing them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because who wants to go up to the Arctic and play them in March? Right?
Indeed.
Thank God.
Been there, read the book, got the T-shirt.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to drop here, but I would happy to leave Graeme, you and Paul to.
Yeah, I'd like to go over the Fulham match at the weekend.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys fully kind of preview the Fulham game. I'm going to just sit on the fence and say I think we get a point. I don't know how it's going to happen and what we're going to do. But as always from me, maybe slightly earlier than normal, but come on you Spurs. Paul, thanks so much for making the time with us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And again, thank you to you, Tom. I know you're not here anymore, but thanks for coming on. And Graeme, I'll leave you to it, mate. And I'm sure we'll sync up afterwards at some point.
Good luck,
no
Glenn.
problem.
When
Thanks,
I'm back
Paul.
when I'm back in Melbourne, I'll come look. We'll have a pint, maybe in November.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Paul. See you, Graeme. See you soon, mate.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.
So it's a 2 p.m. kickoff, I think, isn't it? The Fulham game.
It's Sunday, right?
Yeah, Sunday 2 o'clock local time. So that'll be what, 9 a.m. for you?
Yeah.
So it's not too bad. It's kind of not even an early breakfast, more of a brunch.
Yeah. This isn't one that you necessarily make a reservation for unless you want to.
No, it's not. It's not the North London Derby. That's for sure.
No, but it's 9 in the morning. If it was 11 on Sunday, if it was a 4 o'clock kickoff, then there'll be more people turning up for kickoff time.
Yeah.
But you'll make a reservation if you want to have your regular seat, regular table, or sit with your regular buddies.
Yeah. So I think I did read that it's likely that Porro and Danso will be back for this. So you would think that they come straight back in.
I hope so.
I guess the question is, who does Danso replace? Because you would think Polinia, but actually I think that Dragusin was worse.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He got called
out. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with Danso in that back three because he's a much more solid player.
Yeah, he's more of a rock in the middle there. Polinia wasn't bad. You know, he was being tarnished a bit by those around him, and just the skill of Arsenal, and then taking advantage of the space that was there. I think he's a good signing. I hope they sign him at the end of the season, but who knows? He's 32. Who knows? They may have no choice because no one wants to join us. Who knows?
Yeah. Depends. It depends what league we're in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And part of the rumour that I've read is that a whole bunch of people have got it in their contract, that like players have got it in their contract that they can walk if we get relegated. Fulham's a great place. It's a great stadium, even with the new stand. It's such a super atmosphere, and
it's a small pitch, right? It's a small pitch.
Tight. It's small.
The crowd's right on top of the pitch. It's quite it's like a proper old-fashioned football ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was quite surprised. Do you know that the most expensive season ticket in the Premier League is at Fulham?
Wow.
They've got one that's over $3,000.
Wow.
Which, the highest one at Tottenham's about 2,000 something. I can't remember exactly what it is. There's this few rows in the middle of the south stand that are kind of really badly placed because they're totally surrounded by people who aren't VIP supporters. So I'm assuming they get it in the neck a lot. But I was quite surprised when I saw it. I'm assuming it might be in the new stand that they've got there. So
it's a great location to go to. More
a lot of the Tottenham away fans tend to get a boat down the Thames to the match.
Oh, really?
It's like a party boat. Yeah. It happens quite a lot to Fulham matches.
Oh, I'd never heard of that. I just go by tube and walk. So
yeah, that's quite cool. I don't know where it gets. It must be like Chelsea or something. There's a pier or something they get off at. I have one of my bugbears is the away ticketing allocation, but that I could do a whole podcast episode on that. And every now and again, I have a rant about it because I feel like there's a cartel of season ticket holders who have all of the loyalty points, who will always have all the loyalty points because they're the only ones who can get away tickets. So it's kind of like self-fulfilling. It's just, if you've got the points, you can get the games, which means you get the points, which means you've always got the points. And so nobody else gets a look in. Last summer, for the pre-season matches, there was a pre-season game away at QPR. And I thought, I quite fancy that. That's not too far for me to go to. I missed out. I didn't have enough loyalty points to go to a pre-season friendly.
Wow.
So there's something wrong with that.
Wow.
So there needs to be a way of allowing, even if it's a small percentage, some kind of lottery system or something to allow other people to go to away games. Because I think if you've never experienced it, and you're never likely to, because you're never going to have enough loyalty points, it's a really missed opportunity to really, because those away games, some of them are absolutely magical compared to some of the home matches.
And some of our members have managed to get into those games. But if you're not in amongst the tribe, it's not the same thing.
No,
You know,
no, true.
they make it a hospitality box or something. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Fulham, I think it's pivotal. Palace is even more important next week. Give thanks that they did so well in the Champions League that we didn't have to play last week and we're not playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was huge. So we should recognise what
It's at least
we
it's
did.
at least given Tudor extra days on the training pitch with the players, right?
Well,
Which has been,
yeah,
you would hope, as we'll see more of that against Fulham.
and
Maybe Van der Ven will get beaten up a little bit. He'd come out
well,
he'll turn up for the match on the weekend with a black eye.
yeah, but 2 less games that we have the risk of another injury because that's what January was,
Yeah,
right?
and it's
Another
literally
game,
it's literally
another
that,
game,
right? Yeah.
another injury. Another game, another. So I'm optimistic that we could take a run at this next round of the Champions League. That would probably help the momentum. I'm optimistic at that. We don't know yet who we've got, of course. We'll know tomorrow.
I saw. Did I see Atletico won? They're through. They knocked out Bruges. So
Okay.
then the other game is tomorrow, isn't it? The Galatasaray and who's the other one?
Juventus?
Juventus. Is it Juventus? Yeah, it is Juventus. But Galatasaray are 5-2 up, aren't they, from the
Yeah.
first match?
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. And we've played Galatasaray recently as well. So we played them last year in the Europa League league phase, didn't we? I think that was the game where Lancashire scored and got sent off. We lost to them, actually, that game, if I recall.
Probably. Yeah, I remember seeing Juventus at Wembley in Champions League.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Or something where they
I was at that one. We were 2-0 up for a lot of the game, weren't we? I think, and then we came back. What about a prediction then for the Fulham game?
Oh, I gotta be optimistic and say a win. I've got to. We gotta wake up and start. We got to play freer against Fulham. If we're not going to play freer against Fulham and Palace, and the front guys aren't going to begin to spark, then it's going to be a really tough run-in. So they've got to show the pattern.
I think we've got Fulham and Palace is the next 2 games, right?
Right.
And then Liverpool, I think. So I think we really need to show some return on those 2 matches.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be going in the Liverpool game without any more points on the board. Then you really start to panic.
We've had some amazing second halves of games. Like, of course, who knows?
True.
They just can play a little freer at points, and I think that may happen with Fulham.
Well, let's hope so. I know. For me, I think we might nick a win. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. Maybe 2-1 at the weekend.
Yeah, well, 2-1 would be good.
I hope so. We need something to
away.
kickstart. We do need something to kickstart us, don't we? We need some
2-1
points.
would be good. And
I don't care how we win. I don't care if the ball goes in off. I don't care if Dance. I don't care anything. I'll take 2 own goals. Any goals, just goals.
We didn't talk about that one that was cleared off the line on Sunday.
Yeah, I was the wrong end of the pitch. I didn't get a good view of it. I'm assuming it wouldn't have. Obviously wasn't over the line, but
it touched the line, but it wasn't over the line. But
yeah,
the Canadian
I will
hockey
say
team,
that the communication generally inside the stadium is poor for supporters. You just don't have any idea what's going on a lot of the time. Like the thing with the radios that we talked about, nobody in the stadium had a clue what was going on. There was no announcements. There was nothing on the screen. So we were just like, what's going on? Just a bunch of people just don't know what they were doing. Very strange. Anyway, let's hope for extra time on the training pitch. It shows in the match and that we get a decent result.
Yeah. Just one last point, if I may.
Of course.
A shout out for James Black, the voice of Spurs, who plays up on the 5th level at the home games. We've hosted him over here twice, brought him over twice, and it's always a great event to have him.
Nice.
Yeah, so a shout out to him as a friend of Toronto Spurs.
Yeah, I think I've definitely watched him a few times in the stadium.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thanks ever so much, Paul and Tom. And he's already gone, but to both of you for joining us. It's been fascinating to hear more about Toronto Spurs. So appreciate you coming on. And I hope your experience is better for the rest of the season, like all of us, I guess.
Of course.
So thank you. Thanks to everyone who's listened. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And let us know in the comments what you think about the game on the weekend. And to close us out, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn